And good evening, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Current Events on Tap, a podcast brought to you by the Alex Kirsch Project, where, like the drinks, the current events are on the house. And I'm your host, Alex Kirsch, pragmatic progressive, U.S. Army veteran, truck driver, gamer, and streamer. If this is your first time on the show, please do not forget to hit like, share, and comment. We are currently streaming live on YouTube, Twitch, and the X platform, and hopefully, as long as it's still here, TikTok. The format of the show is simple. I bring one or more guests on the show, we talk beer or beverage of choice, and current events of the week. Now, each person will discuss their beverage of choice for the hour. Whether it's alcoholic or non-alcoholic, it does not matter. Then each person will cover two current events of their choosing. They give the current event, they give their assessment, and then each person gives a chance to give their assessment, and then we're going to discuss it. Debate may be possible, but rest assured you are in a good faith zone, and you will get your chance to get your point across. The point of this space is for all of us to discuss the issues, what we think of it, and keep an open mind to what the other person has to say. But please remember to keep it within TOS. Now, without further ado, let's welcome our guest this evening from the Project VO Pod on YouTube, Jake Varr. How's it going, Jake?
What's up, bro? Yeah, I'm Jake Varr. I run a YouTube channel called Project VO Pod, which, of course, one of the few MAGA channels that are on YouTube. So I am a Trump supporter. I will be voting for him. So just to know, yeah, Alex, thank you for bringing on somebody that is on the opposite side of the political spectrum. You know?
Absolutely. I mean, so Jake actually invited me onto his platform, and we talked about it wasn't really much of a debate. It was more like a discussion about abortion, and then we talked about the Red Bull. But it was a good conversation, though. And then you brought some of your fans on, and I felt like it was good. I mean, let's be honest. It
was really good.
Yeah, let's be honest. Like, I'm okay with talking to people that are of a different political ideology. I'm just a believer that, like, if somebody gets nasty, then guess what? It's game on, motherfuckers. I'll get nasty too, you know? But if you and I can keep it civil, then I'm all about the civil conversation, because I feel like that's something we are losing in this country. And I want to kind of like say, hey, listen, you and I don't agree on things, but that's okay. Like, it's good to kind of get our points of view across. But let people know what YouTube channels they can find you on and how often you go live, though, before we talk about our alcoholic beverages tonight.
Yeah. Actually, man, to be honest, I shoot out videos, like regular videos talking about basically politics, culture war. I talk about RP stuff. And of course, I do some reviews on other people's content. So I usually post about a couple times a week, and then I'll usually go live at least twice a week as so. So yeah, that's usually how it goes. So you'll usually find me throughout the week. So it's kind of a random schedule, to be honest.
Sure, absolutely. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about our beverages for the evening. What beverage you got tonight, dude?
Today I got my go-to, bro, for right now. There it is. Miller Lite, because of course I'm not gonna lie, I used to drink Bud Light, and I don't know if your audience is familiar with what happened there. And so then I just stopped drinking that. I switched over to Miller, and so that's my go-to beer now.
Gotcha.
What about you, Alex?
Tonight I am drinking Oberon American Wheat Ale. Really good. And tonight I am drinking it out of a goblet that I got at the Georgia Renaissance Festival. So
nice.
Yep.
You went to the Renaissance Festival?
I go to them all the time. I love Renaissance festivals.
Nice.
I'm all about them because I like going into because like you can buy really cool shit there, and plus like you have the joust. You have like actual duels. I love shit like that. You know, I'm all about it.
Yeah, my buddy. I remember me and my buddy went over there, and he bought a replica of the Buster Sword for Final Fantasy VII.
Okay.
Which I thought was pretty badass. I was like, dude, they were selling that over there at the Renaissance Festival in Houston, Texas. So
okay,
that was fun, bro.
Yep, absolutely. But when it comes down to beers, like I don't really drink. Here's the thing: I stopped drinking Bud Light because I consider that piss beer. I don't drink Budweiser. Yeah, and it's Coors Light, all that stuff. I don't drink that. I like to go like stuff that's not as mainstream. Now, Yingling is my favorite mainstream beer. I love Yingling. Okay, because. Like, I don't know if I told you, but like my idea of a good beer is one that I can drink cold or room temperature. That's what I call a good beer. You did say that. Okay, I did say that. Okay, I just want to make sure.
I've heard you say it on your streams before when I watch your show. So,
but
and it's funny, is that beer an IP?
No, it's not. It's just a wheat ale, an IPA.
Oh, wheat ale.
I do have some. I'm okay with some IPAs, but you know, some of them have that hoppy bite to it.
Yeah, I know. I always felt like drinking those IPAs feel like if marijuana was a beer, that's what it would taste like. You know, those really hoppy ones, like real potent beers.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are some that are like a little bit too potent, have too much bite to them, which I get. But if you want to try like a really good IPA, you ought to try Voodoo Ranger Juice Force. That thing is amazing. It's like drinking juice, but it'll knock you on your ass though. That's for damn sure. It's
Nice.
it's really potent. So, but anyway, shall we get into current events right now?
Yeah. Whenever
right.
you're the lead in.
All right, fantastic. Okay, so topic number one. The House recently signed an Antisemitism Awareness Act on Wednesday. This came as a result of campus protests that are taking place across the country with 130 plus campuses and counting. Now, pro-Palestinian students who oppose the war between Israel and Palestine have occupied and set up tents on some of these campuses to include the University of Texas, Columbia University, and UCLA. Now, the concern that brought this bill forward was due to the fear that, Jewish students and faculty have said they feel intimidated and they feel unsafe on campus. Now, this also gives those affected the ability to file civil rights complaints if they feel that their rights have been violated. Now, many feel that this is going to target other specific groups, with some right-wing figures on social media think this is going to specifically target Christians, which I actually haven't seen any such verbiage or anything saying that Christians or any other groups will be targeted. Now, at the very bottom of the bill, now I read the bill, okay? The very bottom of the bill says, nothing in this act shall be construed to diminish or infringe upon any right protected under the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, which basically means Congress shall make no law that shows like specificity or preference over any one religion. I know that's like paraphrasing, but that's what it's supposed to say. Now, colleges that do not protect Jewish students from discrimination could also face civil rights enforcement. Now, some legislations on both the left and the right, however, believe that this could cause free speech to be very heavily legislated. Now, especially when it comes to the criticism of Israel. Others think that this is not going far enough. Now, I, for one, have no idea if this legislation is really going to do anything. It seems like a virtue signal, to be honest. Now, this is my take. I truly do condemn anti-Semitism. While I do condemn the horrible actions of the Israeli government and what the IDF have been doing, because I watched some of the videos that they've done to Palestinian people. It's horrific. Yeah. Now, if being told you cannot condemn Israel because that is anti-Semitic, I call bullshit on that, okay? In the United States, you should be free to condemn Israel and its government without fear of condemnation or being silenced. Now, we seem to have no problem condemning other religions or ideologies and states or countries, but why is Israel off limits? Now, don't get me wrong. There are people that are going to take their hatred a bit too far and start posting like, JQ stuff and Holocaust denialism. Now, we should be mature enough to be able to announce when some people, even our allies, commit atrocities. Now, if people are going to condemn the U.S. when they commit atrocities, which it's happened, I'm not going to lie, we should condemn everyone. I believe in one standard. Now, again, the thing is, I know there's people out there that are going to, they're going to take, and they're not even going to care what's happening in Palestine, but they're just going to say, blah, 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 and, TOS Jews kind of deal. And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like legitimate criticism. There are people that feel like what's going on. There are even Jewish people and Israeli citizens that feel like what's going on right now is fucking wrong. But yet it just seems as though like the second you criticize Israel, it's off limits. So what are your thoughts about that, Jake?
Yeah, man. Here's the thing with this bill. When you stated earlier, there's some conservatives that fear that this is targeting Christianity. I'll tell you this. It's not targeting directly Christianity, but if you read the bill, which I did as well, it doesn't give you, it basically says that what's going to be the definition of anti-Semitism is going to be judged off of, what was the name of the organization? I believe it was it's like a Jewish organization that's going to give you the definition of that. They listed definitions of it. One of said definitions claiming that Jews killed Jesus Christ can be considered anti-Semitic. Now, there was also a bunch of different versions of that are kind of based really on feelings. If somebody feels like they were discriminated against, then this bill can actually back them up when, to be honest, man, feelings change time and time again, So I don't think it's a very good idea to make legislation that is based off of people's feelings. So, for example, there was a debate with Candace Owens and Rabbi Barkley where Barkley described Zionism. He defined Zionism, which he said what Zionism is that if you believe that Israel has the right to exist, that's all Zionism is, right? And then if you deny the right of Israel to exist, then you're anti-Semitic. Now, this definition basically says, okay, wait a second. First off, I think me and you can agree that everybody has the right to defend themselves and everybody has the right to exist. And this feels like the same argument that you have like the pronoun people that say, "Oh, you denied my pronouns or you denied my my right to exist," when you don't call a him a her, right? Or whatever pronouns they choose. This seems like the same argument that that Rabbi Barkley, who is a high influence in the Jewish community, that gave that definition of Zionism. He goes on to even define what anti-Semitic is. And he basically says it's a mutation definition, which basically says that it can mutate to anything that seems worthy. And his justification is that it's the oldest form of hate in the world. And that this is a special type of hatred that needs to be addressed. And that was basically his argument. And this particular legislation where they say saying that Jews killed Jesus could be considered anti-Semite. We already had Ben Shapiro and what's his name? Jeremy Boring saying that Christ is king is now anti-Semitic. Like when you leave it up to that type of definition, you're going to get a lot of you're going to muddy the waters when it comes to people, and it's only going to divide people even more when you give that power to a particular group of people. You know, they've never made legislation of blacks or white people or Christians or Muslims or anything of that nature, right? And so why are we treating a certain group of people so special at this moment? And it will infringe upon our freedom of speech, even though the bill still states at the end that it shouldn't. But basically, this is how they do word language in order to actually enforce this type of stuff. I hope it doesn't get past the Senate, but that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah. So I appreciate the fact that you bring up the fact that, like, you know, we don't have any legislation to prevent hatred against Muslims, right? Because, you know, I've worked with Muslims. I know I'm friends with plenty of Muslims, wonderful people, you know. I mean, yeah. And after like 9/11 happened, I was reading stories of, you know, Muslims being attacked, harassed, being told that they were responsible for what happened. Some of them were first responders on 9/11 that actually went to save other people. And I don't remember any legislation being passed, you know, to protect them essentially. And it's just, I really just want everybody to understand. It's like, it's just, I'm a firm believer, like, as far as like, equal opportunity. What I mean by equal opportunity, that everybody deserves some level of treatment of respect, okay? That, you know, there are people out there that are dumb as hell, like, especially in this country. They don't know the difference between a Sikh and a Muslim. It's culturally different, not just religiously different, though, because, like, they see turban, they think Muslim. No, Sikhs wear turbans, too. And the history of the Sikhs is when the Arabs invaded India, the Sikhs were invented to be, like, guerrilla warfare against the Muslims, essentially, the Arab invaders. This was centuries ago, though. But, like, that's why, like, it's important for us to understand that, like, legislation like this, I don't know if it's really going to help. I understand, like, why, but I don't know if it's going to do anything, because they're focusing upon, like, one group. And like I said, like, there was a story of a Jewish professor that was denied access. And people think, oh, it's because they're targeting. No, it's because, like, the legislators said, no, it's the people that work there said, we fear for his safety. I get it, okay? I don't like it when I hear about Jewish people being threatened at school. That's not okay. I'm not cool with that. I'm not cool with that whatsoever. But at the same time, it's just like, if there's like certain trigger words and then boom, it becomes like, you know, it takes it to the next level. It's just like, are we just going to keep like changing the definition? Now, again, I put it like this, okay? I'm completely against racism 100%. I don't think that people should be treated with any disrespect whatsoever, regardless of your, you know, race, religion, you know, sexual orientation, whatnot, right? But I just wonder, is like, is this gonna like just be the is Pandora's box now opened? Are we now going to like see more legislation like this, or is it just gonna be this one? That's just what I'm wondering about. I mean, is this really gonna do anything, or is more people just gonna come out of the woodwork? It's like, let's see how it can test these boundaries. Yeah.
No, you're totally right on that, bro. In fact, I like the way you worded that. Is this opening up Pandora's box? That's actually a really good way of putting it, bro, because at the end of the day, we know that here in America, if one group is being treated with special treatment, there's going to be other groups of people coming out of the woodwork saying, hey, this isn't fair. I want that same privilege, right? So if you're going to make legislation specifically on the J community, right? The Jews. You're going to have people come out of the woodworks like LGBTQ that say, well, I want a special bill that's going to put the people, the bigots that don't accept my lifestyle into jail, right? And there's one thing to say, hey, I don't accept the way your lifestyle is, or there's another thing to say to criticize the country that your origins are from. It's another thing to do actions on it, right? So of course I'm condemn completely of physical violence of any kind, right? Mm-hmm. We shouldn't be doing that. But at the end of the day, I have the idea, like I'm a free speech advocate here, bro. Mm-hmm. In my personal opinion, if you're going to limit speech for whatever reason, then it's not truly freedom of speech. And it goes down to the trickling effect, bro. If you're going to censor one thing, then there's people out there that are going to want to, and it's going to be a trickling hill until now we have to be politically correct all the time. And throughout history, bro, this is how governments, if you ever read the book 1984, mm-hmm. if you look at the Hitler regime, if you look at back in history, what do they always do? They limit speech. Mm-hmm. So you can't criticize the government. You can't criticize whatever they're doing because then you're breaking the law. Mm-hmm. That's what and people would say, no, we have the First Amendment. The First Amendment, it's just a piece of paper, bro. If both the Republicans and the Democrats agree on this stuff, it might possibly get passed. And this is what I'm saying. This is why we need to vote out people that say their freedom of speech. Like the Republicans say, oh, we're warriors of freedom of speech. And then now you have Ron DeSantis. And it's not the first time, by the way, bro. Ron DeSantis citing bills over there in Florida that were anti-Semitic speech laws. What do you call it? Donald Trump did the same fucking thing. Did not like that as well. Mm-hmm. Who else? Tim Scott supports this shit. You have Republicans completely supporting anti-freedom of speech laws, bro. It's mm-hmm. insane to me. It's fucking insane. And you don't talk about that because in the Republican sphere, they don't talk about that shit, bro. It's only till now that Matt Walsh and right-wing pundits are now talking about it because it got past the House, right? But it's like, dude, they've already been pushing that in Republican states already. Mm-hmm. How has this not already been talked about? It's crazy to me.
Absolutely. I think it's like the reason why it's captured so much attention is because of what's happening in Israel and Gaza. Like,
for sure.
That's the main reason why. Because, like, you know, why now is the other thing I'd like to know. Because we all remember what happened in Charlottesville, 2017. Right. Jews will not replace us. Like, we can all remember, this is my entire point. It's like we saw people say these horrendous things about like other ethnic groups or other religions. No legislation got passed, but mm-hmm. I just wonder, like right now, this legislation is getting passed, and like I said, that there are Jewish people that are on the side of the protesters that are are Jewish, that right. think that what's going on is wrong. And from what I understand, they're not being attacked by anybody else. But like, I just wonder, is this just like a knee-jerk reaction maybe? Is it just like to, I wouldn't say cater, but it's just like, is it just a knee-jerk reaction like, well, we gotta take care of this or else we're gonna look like idiots. We're gonna look like fools. We're gonna look like cowards. We gotta get ahead of this right now. But it's like, why now? Why are you trying to put some legislation in right now?
Right now. Yeah. No, yeah, totally. And here's the thing, like what you said before, that there are Jewish people that are actually against what the state of Israel's been doing, bro. Mm-hmm. If you're a Jewish person, you say, you know what, I don't like that Netanyahu is going into Gaza areas, totally wiping out innocent people, like men, women, and children, for the sake of getting two guys that are being hidden in that area. Mm-hmm. That if you say that and you're a Jewish person, they just label you as a self-hating Jew, mm-hmm. which is something I've heard Rabbi Barkley say, and Rabbi Shmuley has said the same fucking thing, bro.
I cannot stand that guy.
I can't stand that guy either, bro. Okay. But nevertheless, they have stated those things. And they are one of the bigger leaders of the Jewish community. Mm-hmm. They have a huge following, etc. So I'm just saying this. The problem comes is when a particular group of people are showing some kind of supremacist value, I guess, mm-hmm. And I have this same argument even with the BLM organization that have stated things that sound like it's black supremacy. And then you had the Ku Klux Klan, sure, white supremacy. Now we have right now the Jewish community sounds like Jewish supremacy. It feels like it's a repeat of history, and I just want to call it out. And it shouldn't be even tolerated, bro. That's where I'm coming from. That it's a problem where they're even labeling other Jewish people as self-hating Jews. That's insane, bro. It's insane.
Yeah, I agree. And nobody here is making the argument that Israel shouldn't have responded. Like every one of us, like rational people, believe that what happened on October 7th needs to be denounced 100%. It should never have happened. It was a horrible thing. But it's just like afterwards, it just like seems like the response has just been like over the top. Like war is, don't get me wrong, war is absolute hell. But it's just like there are times where I feel that some of the strikes in Gaza have been over the top. And I have no problem saying, like, I see places where, like, the IDF say, hey, listen, refugees go to this area, and then that area gets rocketed. It gets bombed and shit like that. It's like, dude. And I think, Mehdi Hassan, he's a guy that I respect a lot because he asks the good questions. But
who's this?
Mehdi Hassan. Mehdi Hassan.
Okay, Mehdi Hassan.
Yeah, he's on Zateo now. But, like, even he brought up about the fact that it's like, he denounced like the war in Iraq, right? But he says even with American soldiers, if they felt like that there was collateral damage, they have to make a call up the chain before they can actually launch an attack. Now, some people think that's wrong, but the thing is, though, is like, what is the best course of action? It's like option A or option B. But Israel, there is no bureaucracy. It's like, hey, whatever's on the ground, just do what you got to do. Now, I can't confirm this because I haven't really talked to too many people that are on the ground in Israel. Now, a lot of people will be like wondering, well, wait a second, you're not there. It's like, well, you're right, I'm not there, but I've been to Iraq, I've been to Afghanistan, and the thing is, like, I understand that there are some times where, collateral damage is gonna happen. War is hell. But just sometimes I wonder, are they really taking the necessary steps to make sure they do as little damage as possible, or are they just saying, fuck it,
shoot it.
Yeah.
You're totally right on that. Again, based off of the evidence, bro, it feels like to me, I'm going to make a pretty out there statement. Feels like to me that the Israeli government, the state of Israel, wants to do an ethnic cleansing of the Gaza region, bro. I'm just saying. Now, again, I'm going to lead into this question right here. Yes, they're bombing areas. They've bombed multiple hospitals. By the way, even before October 7th, they were bombing hospitals. This isn't anything new. But let me ask you this. They claim, well, we have the right to defend ourselves, and this is why we're going to go in there and just bomb the fuck out of this area. And then we send a text message to the civilians saying, get out of there. You guys have 5 minutes to leave the area. Like, what? They give them 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes to leave the area. Like, gather up your children, your nephews, and everything, aunties, uncles, and get the fuck out of there. And then they use that as an excuse. And it's not just Democrats. It's Republicans back this up. Like, that's them showing like they care about the people. And then on top of that, they're killing, they're killing so many people. And to me, it's just like, okay, if you want to get rid of Hamas, which is a small terrorist organization over there in Gaza, compared to the Israeli government, the army, I mean, they have probably the best intelligence agency in the entire world. It's weird to me that they didn't know that Hamas had 5,000 rockets in their backyard. How did that get past the intelligence organization? That's weird. That's one. That's fucking weird. Two, if you're going to go out there and bomb those areas, I think there's other ways of doing that. Like, for example, this is barely even an army. One thing you could do, and just bear with me here, is send Black Op missions. You can cleanse the area with Black Ops, bro. As in send a small group of people undercover, etc. You have intelligent agencies that can intercept radio frequencies and communication and find these people within specific areas and take them out. Instead, they're choosing to bomb the area. And this is why it feels like to me that the state of Israel is doing an ethnic cleansing and they don't care about the people in Palestine. And I've seen these videos and it's horrific. Dude, it's just absolutely disgusting to me, bro. And it feels like going back to what I'm saying, the state of Israel has some type of supremacy ego on them. And so the people that are protesting over there, I don't think they fully understand or fully comprehend what's going on to where They say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I don't even think they know what river or what fucking sea they're talking about, bro. Like they have no clue what the hell they're protesting. But this has led to a lot of violence here in the United States. And it feels like to me, this whole war feels like a false flag in a way. It feels like they're using this as to ethnically cleanse the Gaza area.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm just saying, based off of what I've seen, it just feels fucking fishy to me. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I've asked people,
I know we're going into conspiracies. I know we're going into conspiracies.
No, I wouldn't say so much conspiracy, but I've asked the question of a few people that I know that are into geopolitics, and even they feel like this is a genocide. There are people there are content creators out there that say, oh, genocide is kind of, but the thing is, like, they're saying, well, it doesn't fit the definition of genocide. Okay, let me ask you a question. Right. Okay, if you bomb hospitals, if you bomb schools, if you basically make it to where they cannot recover, if you basically make it to where they cannot take care of themselves, if you basically block it to where they cannot get any aid, then they are starving. Right. Like, we look at what Saudi Arabia has been doing with Yemen, and people say, oh, that's a genocide. The exact same thing is happening in Gaza. Yeah. But people are like, I'm sorry, I call that a genocide. I don't give a shit. Yeah. If it was any other region that was doing this to anybody else, we probably would have no problem. But because it's Palestine and nobody really gives a shit about Palestine, who cares? I mean, I'm like, cares. The thing is, like, I made this post a while back. I find it interesting that people are saying, well, why should we defend Palestine? They are anti-LGBTQ+, they're anti-women's rights, I was like, well, that's never stopped us supporting other countries that have the same fucking points of view, honestly. I mean, it's just like, but it's because we have nothing to financially gain from Palestine. That's why we don't give a shit. I mean, and the thing is, like, there are people in this country right now that are wondering, why should we vote for Biden? Okay, I hear the arguments. It's like, he's not doing anything for Palestine. Okay, that's fair. That's a completely fair argument. And, it's just like, when I look at it, it's just, he's in a tough spot right now, honestly. But I don't want to get into that really. But it's just like, when I look at this whole situation, if people are afraid to acknowledge that it's like what's going on is awful, just think about it. If it wasn't Israel and Palestine, let's say, for example, if it was another Middle Eastern country against another Middle Eastern country, they were doing horrendous things. Would we denounce it then? I mean, everybody's open for mockery or not mockery. Either everybody's open to criticism or nobody's open to criticism. I mean, I'm a firm believer. If you disavow, or if you don't disavow, or if you see something that's wrong, you don't critique it. You've created a new standard. So
no, 100%, man. But yeah, and it's funny to me, bro, because going back to the Biden situation, like, let me ask you this. Has he handled the situation well? I don't think he has. Obviously, there's protests going on with people that are disavowing Biden, that are the Palestinian protesters, right? And Biden is, of course, he just passed that bill that gave X amount of, what was it, $8 billion to Israel or something?
Israel and Ukraine and Taiwan.
Taiwan, okay. So again, a lot of Americans kind of feel like, dude, you're funding a war. You're giving money to Israel, which, by the way, Israel already gets $4 billion of our taxpayer money every single year for the past 70 years. Mm-hmm. They're the most funded state in the world from the United States, bro. Mm-hmm. They get all the money, bro. And so now all of a sudden, Republicans want to say, well, don't fund the Ukraine. Oh, don't give them any money. Zelensky's a bad guy. Don't do that. But then when you ask these fucking same Republicans about funding Israel, they kind of like bite around the bush, like kind of like what you were saying. Oh, well, you know what? That's fine because they're our allies. It's like we already give them $4 billion a fucking year of our taxpayer money. And at this point, they're in a what I describe as an ethnic cleansing. And it feels like the United States government, both Republicans and Democrats, are supporting this genocide. And you're right to call it that, bro, because like what you mentioned before, they're bombing hospitals. This was a great analogy that one of another podcast that I was on, his name's Hassan. He gave this analogy out. And he asked, if you kill one soldier, how many soldiers have you killed? I'll ask you the question. How many soldiers have you killed? This is a pretty good analogy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're asking you. Oh, you're asking me. Okay. if you've killed one soldier, you've only killed one soldier, essentially.
You only kill. Okay, cool. Now he's like, okay, if you kill one doctor, how many soldiers have you killed?
A bunch.
A bunch. Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So what you were saying, well, it's not the same. It's not a genocide. Dude, they're killing medical aid. They're bombing hospitals with doctors that know how to help people. If you kill those doctors, you're by a rippling effect, you're killing citizens that would otherwise survive this war if they had medical aid. So it might not look like a full-on, oh, we just wipe them all out all in one gulp. But when you kill out the medical aid, you're essentially killing more civilians, just like you're killing more soldiers. And so this is kind of how they get away with this. What some people would say it's not a genocide. I would also describe it as genocide the way you have spoken of it as well. This is how you get away with that. And then you cry wolf because, oh, well, they attacked us with their 5,000 missiles that somehow went under the table of our intelligence agency. And then now they have an excuse, and they have an excuse for other nations to back them up, because then they're just going to claim self-defense. That's just how I see it as, and it feels disgusting to me. I think this is why a lot of people are pissed, and I think this is why it's raged a lot of people. I think a lot of the people that are Jewish, like for example, on those campuses, the riots that are breaking out, I think a lot of these students kind of feel like, well, we did nothing wrong. We're just defending ourselves, right? They're not thinking of it as a genocide or throughout the years that Israel has dominated a lot of the Palestinians, because, they have a lot of help from the United States government. So I think that's where the frustration is. And I think it only divides America so much, bro. And this is why I don't want to get involved with these foreign affairs. I don't want to Ukraine. I don't want to send money to Israel to fund what? To fund more people dying. And that's just the cold hard truth of it. So, but yeah, go ahead. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So what's interesting is the reason why I say, and I didn't want to kind of get too much in the weeds on Biden, but the reason why I say he's in a tough spot is because if he doesn't support Israel, then he's anti-Semitic. Right. That's exactly what's going to happen. The Republicans are going to jump right on it and say he's anti-Semitic. But if he doesn't support Palestine, he supports genocide, essentially. That's a tough spot to be in, honestly. And I think any president would kind of be in the same predicament, essentially. If you don't support Israel...
Let me ask you, Alex. If you were the president of the United States, would you rather be called an anti-Semite, or would you rather save lives and be like, not fund the war? Would you rather be called an anti-Semite and get your feelings hurt or whatever? Or would you rather stop people from dying?
No, I'd probably rather stop people from dying, honestly.
And for me, it's a very fucking easy choice, bro.
Yeah.
Like, like you're a public figure. You're going to get called a lot of mean things.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And to me, it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
But I get you. He's in a tough spot. But dude, if you do the right thing, man. And I would say the same thing to Trump. If Trump was funding this war, which I hope he doesn't. But he did say, he's not going to fund the Ukraine. And we have a lot of problems here, bro. The South border. I mean, there's a lot of things to look at before just giving our money away to foreign affairs.
Absolutely. But so before we move on to the next topic, I want to ask you this one last question, okay? When people say, when we talk about all the people that have died in Palestine, the Palestinians, the innocent people, like men, women, and children that had nothing to do with October 7th, let's be honest.
Right.
We just heard a story about a 6-year-old child that was left in a car and she starved to death, basically. You heard a story about a 5-day-old baby that fucking died and shit like that. You hear people say, blame Hamas. What do you say about that? When they say blame Hamas for this?
Oh man, that's a good question. Because here's the thing, man. When you have a lot of chaos within civilians, I would say this: Hamas needs to be condemned. I would say there's to blame on both parties. I'm not backing up Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist that needs to be stopped. I think there's ways of stopping that organization that you can mitigate as much lives as possible. Sure. I don't see that. I don't see the Israel government doing that. But if you're going to ask me, well, it's only Hamas's fault, only blame Hamas, and that's it, I would say no. I'm not going to only blame Hamas, because at the end of the day, the state of Israel has been doing this to Gaza for years and years and years. Can you not see that the people in Gaza, when they're getting destroyed, they don't have clean water. It's a third world country. They're frustrated. You're going to create more demons that way by not helping these people. When you don't help them and you're just causing chaos, You're going to cause more people to say, you know what? I'm going to join Hamas. I'm going to join Hamas because Israel killed my family when I was a baby or when I was a kid. And now I'm going to join Hamas and I'm going to support the cause of taking out the Israeli government and thus causing more war. Like it's a rippling effect, bro. Oh, yeah. So no, I'm not going to sit there and just blame Hamas for everything. I think there's a lot more to it than just saying it's only Hamas's fault because of October 7th. October 7th was horrible, but there was so much shit that led up to October 7th that nobody wants to talk about, bro.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's my take on that.
I got you. I appreciate that take. So, caveating, like kind of moving in, like talking about like the anti-Semitism and talking about campuses. Let's go ahead and talk about your first topic, okay?
Oh, yeah. The UCLA riots, which, by the way, kind of blends in with this one.
It does.
I think I said a lot of stuff here, but okay, it goes back. Let's shoot it out to the campuses area because we're going to talk more about these students and how they feel here. Because obviously, with everything that's going on, we've already mentioned before that Biden hasn't necessarily handled the situation correctly. So Biden has basically gotten a lot of enemies on the Palestinian protesters. If you look at what happened on the UCLA riots, there was so much infighting, people literally physically fighting each other. It was the aftermath was just chaotic, bro. Chaotic. And what I'm saying here is that they had footage of people that were blocking a student, a Jewish student, from getting to his class. I don't know if you saw that video.
Mm-hmm. I heard about it.
You did? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So he filmed it. He said, these people are blocking me from there. And who knows if those people were even part of the campus to begin with. Mm-hmm. Like, and after everything had settled down, there was reports saying that a big portion of the people that were there weren't even students, bro. They weren't even students. They were just random advocates of Palestine, advocates of Jews, and they all gathered up there to fight each other. A lot of them weren't even students, man. There was one story of a 66-year-old lady that was seeing it on the news. She decided, which I think was stupid, but she decided to go over there to the campus to try to mitigate the situation and tell people to stop doing this. She ended up getting hurt and off to the hospital because of those actions. And it's just like, this situation is causing so many people to get involved, and it's gotten so much bigger than what it should be. And again, this is just another, I guess, collateral damage of what happened on October 7th and everything like that. The division that I feel it feels like a setup that we are now infighting with each other because at the end of the day, we're so divided, bro. We can't find common ground on anything, that's why it takes podcasts like this, like you on one side and me on the other side, to have these conversations to find some type of common ground with this shit. Because at this point, America is just so divided. It's the worst we've ever seen. It's probably just as divided, if not more, than when we had the first Civil War to free the black people. So it just feels that way to me. Yeah. What's your take on that?
So I saw that there was there were some peaceful protesters on the pro-Palestinian side and the Israeli side, but there was also agitators. Now, here's the thing: when it comes down to some protesters and some rioters, right? There are people there that don't even give a shit about the cause. They're just there to start a ruckus. It's all there is to it. There are people there just to start some shit. I have no doubt about that. There were probably people there that just want to start the ruckus. Now, there are reports of people on the pro-Israeli side that were harassing and actually shooting fireworks into the people that were living in tents in their tents and stuff. That could be actually classified especially if a fire started, and that could be classified as attempted murder essentially. So
yeah, definitely.
This is so. I actually did a panel earlier on Wednesday. We talked about whether this should affect somebody's life, later down the road. Let's say, for example, a person that is pro-Palestinian, right? They support the people of Palestine, and they decide to occupy themselves in a tent on campus, right? And they say, "Oh well, we're," and they put themselves in a tent. Well, here's the thing: I fully support their right to peacefully protest because I'll take a peaceful protest over a violent riot any day of the fucking week. Okay, but a campus is a private institution, and if they say we're trespassing this person, then they've broken the law. They got to go. I mean, that's just the way things are. And until the law changes, that's just the way things are. It's black and white. There's no other gray area. And I watch the YouTube channel Audit the Audit all the time, and they're very fair when it comes down to assessing trespassing laws, whether cops are good, bad, auditors good, bad kind of deal. And that's what I appreciate about that channel. But the reason why I think it's important that people should have the right to protest, even if people feel like, well, this is, it's not. Jesse Ventura, one of my favorite people, said it's not popular speech that needs defending. Popular speech doesn't need defending. It's unpopular speech that needs defending.
Right.
And I think it's so important. Like, even if you got the pro-Israeli side, the pro-Palestinian side, they're just slinging ad homs. They're calling each other a piece of shit. That's protected speech. But the second that somebody gets struck, the second that somebody gets punched, you're no longer covered under the protections of the Constitution of the United States. That's assault. Right. Now, I've seen people at the University of Texas, Columbia, that are, fighting back against the police. And, the argument could be made that, maybe the police went a little over the top. But even the president of the University of Texas said this was a little over the top, that, they didn't come in like guns blazing. But, it's kind of like herding cats. Let's put it that way at times.
Herding cats? Herding cats?
Yeah, you never heard that before? Herding cats?
No, I haven't.
Okay, it's nearly impossible to do so. You're trying to take control of a situation that's already way out of control, essentially. Now, if people start getting I'm very consistent about this, right? If you're protesting, that's one thing. But if you're harassing people, if you're preventing them to get into class, if you're basically making it hard for people to because there are people there that might support your protest, right? There might be people there that say, hey, listen, I support the people's right for Palestine, but I don't want to take part in that because I didn't pay $60,000 a year to come to this school to protest. I came here to get an education. And I feel like if their education is getting mitigated, I mean, I've done bits about, student loans. I've done bits about protesting and stuff like that. And, people's like, oh, what, there's something worse going on. Yeah, but the thing is, like, the protest right now is getting nationwide attention, right?
Yeah, it is.
But it's not going to help you get your fucking education, honestly. I mean, that's my whole entire point. And people say, like, oh, well, that's secondary. Well, it might be secondary to you, but, that's like, it's not secondary to that person that, they want to go to law school. They want to go to get their engineering degree and stuff like that because that's what they came to college for. Now, if you decide that you want to get your degree in engineering, but then you want to take part in this protest and you missed school and stuff like that, and you end up flunking out, you've got
that's your fault.
Exactly. I believe in that too, I mean, you've got nobody to blame but yourself. But if your professor says, hey, listen, I'll work with you on this, okay, that's fine too, I mean, there's nothing wrong with looking at that. But this whole UCLA situation, I deplore violence across the board. I mean, it might seem like kind of weird for me to say that, but it's just, I believe that somebody, regardless of their affiliation, they have the right to protest and express themselves. I will always support that. But the second that the college says, hey, listen, you got to go or we're trespassing you, that's their call as well. I mean, we have to support that. We have to say, hey, you know what? They made the call. You got to accept that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%, bro. I totally agree with you on that. My problem is how the situation was handled, because during those UCLA protests, I don't know if you know this, but the cops didn't show up for about 2 to 3 hours. That riot went on for so long with no cops in sight, bro. And so I was just like, where the fuck was the police? Like, where, like this shit was going on for hours before they finally showed up and mitigated all of the damage. It's like, what happened there, right? And so you see this a lot when it comes to these political protests turn riots. And I don't want to bring up another subject, but the BLM protests that turned into riots, you didn't see a whole lot of cops going in there and stopping these things. In fact, there was a lot of reports like that. They were saying to the cops to not even get involved with it. And so I'm just saying this, there's no proof on this, but it kind of feels like, where were they at? Were they told to stand down on the UCLA riots? Like, it feels more of like, do the people that run these institutions, do the people that the cops, etc., do they want these people to be fighting each other and doing these violent acts? And not only that, were there any even arrests that happened during these UCLA protests? I don't know if there was any arrests that actually occurred.
I think
my knowledge, anyways.
I think there might have been a couple, but I have to look into it. I didn't really.
I have to look into it too.
Yeah, I have to look into it.
Yeah.
But
Now that I'm thinking about it.
yeah, there's been some, but I don't know about UCLA. University of Texas, there was some arrests. Columbia, there was arrests there as well. So that sparked a lot of outrage because it seemed like it was very one-sided on who got arrested. Essentially, that's what I understood.
Really?
Yeah, especially in Columbia. I think it was at Columbia.
Side?
It was the pro-Palestinian side.
Really?
Yeah, because
they got disproportionately arrested than the Jewish side.
Yeah, that's what I understand because I watched Uncensored on Piers Morgan's channel. Do you watch that channel?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
and it was and Jay Guger and Cornel West were saying no, there are people that are being unfairly treated and arrested just for protesting, and that's wrong, kind of deal. And yeah, that's a fun channel to watch too, actually.
Oh yeah. Piers Morgan has been bringing the heat when it comes to the guests, by the way. Lately, he's had some good shows, but yeah, I didn't know that they actually disproportionately arrested the Free Palestine people over the pro-Jews.
That's from what I understand. I could be wrong, but that's just from the last thing I'd seen. If there's an update, I'll retract my statement then. So
yeah, and was this for all of the Texas one, the Columbia one? They were all disproportionately arrested.
I don't know about the Texas one. I just know the Texas one that there were that Greg Abbott, he sent the police out in force. That's all I know. And that the president of the University of Texas was like, whoa, easy now. That was a bit excessive. So that's the only thing I understand about that situation. But
no kidding.
But as far as UCLA, I just understand that there was violence on both sides, but some of the instigation was from the pro-Jewish side. They were shooting fireworks into people's tents, which, like I said, that can be classified as attempted murder, especially if the tent caught fire. That's arson, essentially.
Yeah, it's arsenal. Yeah. No kidding, man. And I'm very curious to see if there was anybody. I'm pretty sure there was, but I'm curious to see, dude. I saw those videos and it looked like hundreds of people. Again, I wasn't there. I didn't count, but it looked like a really good portion of people, bro, that were fighting each other. I'm curious to see if perhaps maybe how many of them were arrested and how many of them were on the pro-Jew side or the pro-Palestinian side. That would be something to really look at there. But yeah, as far as these schools go, man, I just feel like it's being divided more and more, especially with the when October 7th came around. This is why I think, and again, dude, a lot of these Palestinian protesters don't even know what the hell they're actually protesting, man. The river to the sea and all this stuff, they don't actually know what's going on. They just feel like there's some kind of social justice thing going on and they need to go out there and just say their mind going on, especially when you debate them and you give them these facts. They kind of just don't even know what the hell you're talking about. Yeah. And so I kind of feel like it's the low IQ, uneducated people that are protesting. And if you look at studies, I'm just showing this. People usually with low IQ are more they're more vulnerable to be violent, or they're more they have more tendency of violence.
More prone to it.
Yeah, they're more prone to violence the lower your IQ is. That's just what it is, man. But so I do kind of feel like a lot of these protesters are a bunch of, they're a bunch of fucking idiots, bro. It just makes sense statistical wise, and it makes sense that even if I seen it on Twitter, the loudest people are the ones attacking J.K. Rowling, like the subject we were talking about earlier. It just feels like you don't know the full on story of things. And I think that's what leads more to violence than anything.
Well, I have a term for something like that. There's a saying that goes with that. An empty trash can always sounds the loudest.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Good point. I've never heard that saying, though.
Yep.
I've never heard that saying.
I use that a lot for certain people, especially people that boast a lot. But you made a very good point, and I think that's really important because there are a lot of idiots out there in the world of technology. You would think we'd be you'd think we'd be a smart society, but no, we're dumb as shit. Honestly, there's a lot.
I think we're even dumber.
Well, and the thing is, I'll be honest, I'm not the brightest bulb in the box. There are times where I've been wrong on things, and I'm good to correct myself, especially when I've been proven wrong on something. But the thing is, this is why if I want to talk about a topic, I have to do my research on it first. And I just don't go to one source. I go to multiple sources, right? Yeah. And I hear what some people talk about, and then I make an assessment based upon that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's also nothing wrong with admitting, hey, I don't know anything about this. People seem to think it's funny. If they ask me, if I know what this term means, I tell them I don't know what that means. I think it's hilarious. It's would you rather I lied and say I do understand, and then you ask me what does this mean, and I'm like,
that would look worse. That would look worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a firm believer in just admitting I don't know what that means or something like that, or
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done enough research on this topic, or I didn't look at your source, so I can't really comment on that matter. But there are some people, like I said, there are people that take place in these protests that have no idea what it's about. They said, hey, my best friend's uncles, cousins, pets, roommates, brother's friend told me about this, so that's why I'm here. I want to be part of the cool crowd. This is the cool thing.
Yeah.
Hey, this means I might get out of school tomorrow or something. I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
and here's the funny part, and here's the thing that I truly believe, though. There are probably people that are the peaceful protesters that say, listen, this is why we're here. We don't want violence. We don't want anything bad to happen.
Yeah.
They're not the ones that are going to get the nationwide attention. It's the people that start the shit, that burn the shit, that do horrible things. They're the ones that are going to get the nationwide attention. And that's what people need to understand is like, this is what we focus upon. And this is why I don't really watch mainstream media, okay? Like, if the sources match up with everything else, then yeah, I'll cut a little bit of slack. But they don't go for, like, what's accurate. They go for what sells. And what sells? Controversy. Controversy sells more than anything else.
Yep. Controversy and violence, bro. In fact, it's the same thing with YouTube, Alex. If you look at all of the videos that kind of get the most clicks in the YouTube world, it's usually a thumbnail that's provocative, or it's a title that seems, maybe it's a little bit misleading, but those are usually the headlines that get the most clicks. It's the same thing with write articles. You have to write a provocative article, because at the end of the day, people are more attracted to the chaos than they are the good things, bro.
Oh,
That's just a fact.
But it's just like reality television. I mean, people people love reality television. It's a train wreck to me, but it's just like you can't take your eyes off it. And I get it. People may not find content like I'm doing right now controversial, but I don't give a shit. I don't want to go for controversy. I just want to go for this is the way things are. What are your thoughts about it? I mean, people like the controversy though, and it's like, all right, man. If you want controversy, all right, that's cool, man. That's cool. So.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna lie. I am a bit of a fired personality. I do like debates. I like arguing worldviews. That's for sure. And I like people questioning my worldviews. So I enjoy that. I enjoy the conflict. But at the same time, I'm here to debate worldviews. I'm not here to physically attack you or anything of that nature. Yes, I can get a little bit riled up, but at the end of the day, you do have to have a form of entertainment, because let's be honest, bro, most debates are fucking boring. Like, they really are. So there does have to have an element of entertainment in order to keep people's attention, right?
Oh, sure.
So I do believe in that as well. But at the same time, if you're going to straight up lie with your headline, you're going to straight up mislead people, that's the problem. You know? That's basically my main take on that. But yeah, whenever you're ready for the next topic.
Okay. So, the next topic, okay? The state of Kansas has remained as one of the very few states that won't legalize medical use marijuana or to be expanded into Medicaid programs. Now, they decide they're going to wait another year before they decide. Hold on a second, something just popped up. Okay. They decide that they're going to wait a year before they decide to vote on this issue again. Now, they didn't give many specific reasons as to why, which I think is stupid. Some lawmakers think that if you were to legalize medicinal marijuana, you open the door for recreational use. Well, no shit, Sherlock. And now, to me, marijuana should be legalized across the board. Now, marijuana has a lot of benefits. It lowers blood pressure, reduces inflammation, prevents people from relapsing back into worse drugs and alcohol. It helps with addiction, helps with anxiety, treats gastrointestinal disorders, prevents seizures, and it actually can, in some ways, in shape or form, fight cancer. Now, I, for one, have never smoked weed. I've been around people who have done all kinds of drugs, and out of all of them, marijuana has actually been the most benign out there. Now, with alcohol, I understand I am drinking beer right now. But, however, what I'm talking about is, I've seen other people that drink beer. They go out and commit acts of violence. They get stupid. They do stupid things. They get violent. It happens all the time. I see it everywhere. I'm sure you've seen it too. Now, I've seen people that smoke marijuana. They kick back, relax, and chill. They smoke weed. You give them their favorite activity, their favorite snack. They are set, man. You give them their favorite music, that is game over right there. Yeah. Now, I've seen people do cocaine, mushrooms, smoke crack, take ecstasy, and it has all these drastic, serious side effects to it, and that does to their mind and body. Now, I've seen some people that reacted negatively to what's going on. And guess what? We also still have a fentanyl crisis in this country, and we've had one for years now. Now, legalizing marijuana doesn't mean you're creating a gateway drug. Now, should marijuana be legalized, people think you're stepping into dangerous territory, but once you start lacing marijuana, that's when you're entering dangerous territory. Because if you mix marijuana with angel dust, that's going to have a negative effect because the two counteract each other, and that's when hallucinations really start coming in. But the thing is, and this is what's really, really important about this topic, this is why I wanted to bring this up, is because if you legalize marijuana across the board and you decriminalize, here's one thing you're doing. You're taking the power out of the drug cartels. We talk about the drug cartels all the time in this country. You legalize marijuana, you're taking a lot of power out of it. You're just basically taking it out. Now, Portland, Oregon tried the decriminalization, but I think it was done poorly because people were overdosing left and right. Because we need to understand something. If you're going to do this, first you got to make sure you have the facilities available to get people off the shit, okay? Because I'm firmly against the prison industrial complex. If you just arrest people for doing cocaine or something like that, for doing it, and you send them to prison, they get hooked on something else. Because let's not mince words here. Drug use stays and occurs in prison still to this day. But there are people right now that you just hook them up on something, they don't always get clean. They come back, they're more fucked up because, something really horrendous happened to them in prison. They're more fucked up than anything else, and they did nothing to help rehabilitate them. Rehabilitation centers at times are for profit, so there's no regulation involved. And some people, they go there, they get treatment, and they come back out and nothing has fixed it.
Right.
The way we go about fixing drug treatment is wrong. I mean, hell, healthcare in this country is done poorly, I feel. But when it comes down to the legalization of marijuana, again, it's the most benign one out there. I've seen people that smoke marijuana. They're chilled, they're relaxed, they're just having a great time. It's a natural plant, essentially. It's not going to do anything. I've known people that smoke marijuana because they don't drink beer, and they're just chilled, they're relaxed, they just enjoy their favorite activity. They're great. But, let's go ahead and hear your thoughts about this.
Yeah. So, funny thing is, first off, I don't smoke weed. I don't smoke weed. I think smoking for me personally, bro, doesn't do anything. It does do something for me, but I just don't like the trip. Yeah. Me personally, I'm a drinker and that's what I stick by.
Sure.
But I am friends with a lot of potheads, bro. I'm not going to lie. I am friends with a lot of potheads. But I will tell you this. Usually because I came from the metal scene, I did play a lot of heavy metal, and I met a lot of people that love marijuana. It would smoke. Yeah, exactly, bro. Exactly. And I'm pretty sure even with your scene, you're a rocker, I'm pretty sure a lot of them do smoke marijuana, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's a big drug, And I remember throwing parties, marijuana was there. However, there were other stronger drugs. I never touched them. I was more of a drinker. But the entire argument, and again, this is just based off my experience, is when they say it's a gateway drug. I would say this, look, have I ever met a guy that does cocaine or heroin but doesn't smoke marijuana? I've never seen that. Usually a lot of drug addicts will prefer marijuana and any as just a drug on there. Now, I'm not calling it a gateway drug. Now, you can make that same argument with, for example, alcohol, right? Have you ever seen a guy do cocaine that isn't a drinker? I mean, perhaps, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to call it a gateway drug, but I can kind of see the argument there. I would say this. There's a little, Alex. Yes. So, for example, with alcohol leads to car crashes, right?
Sure.
You have drunk driving. I don't know the numbers exactly, but I think it's around 65 million car crashes or drunk driving accidents happen. Or 65 to 70, somewhere around there. Last time I checked anyway. Yeah. So that's a lot of people that are getting injured and hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. Also, I like to smoke cigarettes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which doesn't really have too much of effect on this. But I would say this. If the government said, you know what, we're going to outlaw alcohol, I don't think I'm going to be there and being like, you know what? Yeah, let's outlaw, let's save alcohol. Because I love it so much, let's just outlaw, let's save alcohol from that. Because at the end of the day, there are a lot of people that die from drunk driving, alcohol alcohol poisoning, etc. And that could save lives. Me personally, if you outlaw it, I don't really have an argument to like be for it, in my opinion. So it's kind of a hard argument to kind of back up if you're going to legalize alcohol. Now, marijuana, we haven't seen the full take of legalizing marijuana all the way through, but I would assume that, people drive while they're high, right?
Sure.
And that is a form of I'm pretty sure that will lead to alcohol. That will lead to car crashes if you legalize that. But I'm all for I'm all for medical use. That's for sure. What they're doing, I'm trying to outlaw the marijuana entirely. Definitely, I'm fine with that. But as far as the recreational use, I just kind of feel like, could that lead to accidents that we're already seeing with alcohol? And I know you can't OD on marijuana, but it does it does destroy your senses to a degree. And not only that, crime is, I think it's like almost 100% of crime, like a very huge portion of crime is done on some type of substance. This also includes marijuana, includes alcohol, includes any type of drugs. Most crimes are committed on some type of substance, some substance abuse. So I'm just saying this. So let me ask you this. Would legalizing it across the board, do you see any problem of maybe that would cause some type of issue of people misusing it that could lead to some type of damage to others?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I mean, it's the same thing with alcohol because, there are people that get fake IDs that get alcohol. There are people that get drunk and get behind the wheel with it. That's why, I'm a big proponent of personal responsibility. And also, if police developed a way to determine if somebody's under the influence of weed on the road, I'm cool with that.
Okay. Yeah. So you're fine with actually punishing people on the road that smoke it.
Absolutely.
Or what other case? Honestly, I can only think of that because you can't really OD on it, right? There's no substance of that. Is there any real long-term effects? Is there anything long-term that maybe lung-wise that can hurt them or any type of connected to cancer? Nothing, right?
Not cancer, but it can actually debilitate your chance of having a high sperm count, from what I understand, for men.
Okay. So
there's that.
I think it's the same thing with alcohol too, no, right? Because
I don't know about
your libido.
I don't know about alcohol. I have no idea. I've never.
Because alcohol actually it actually hires up your estrogen. Alcohol. So, for example, if you have higher estrogen, in other words, you're going to be more like a female. It's going to be harder to get it up, during sex. But as far as lowering your sperm count, I don't know about that. But I do know it hires up your estrogen. So but that could be fixed, really. But again, for me personally, if it doesn't affect people's lives, I think I'm okay with it, because for the sheer fact that we have alcohol, and again, if they wanted to outlaw that, I really have no argument against it. If they wanted to outlaw cigarettes, I would have no argument against it because it's already linked to cancer. It can only help society, really. So in my personal opinion, if I can find an argument that marijuana is bad as recreational use, then I'd probably have a problem with it. But as far as I know, the only thing I can think of is the driving part. But it is illegal, so it's not as frequent as alcohol, for example.
Well,
But that's kind of my take on it. With that, is just precautions with it. But as far as medical use, they didn't even give a reason why they wanted to ban it for for medical use, right?
Yeah.
At all?
None.
Nothing?
No. They felt like it was just going to lead to recreational use. That's their only excuse, which I think is
well, here's the thing. I saw a video on the case, and the guy's main argument was, and he said there's long-term effects. That's what he said. He didn't list the long-term effects. He just said it's a gateway drug and it can cause XYZ and there's long-term effects. And I said, okay, well, he didn't elaborate what those were. So I don't know exactly what long-term effects he's talking about. However, I will tell you this. I don't smoke weed personally. I think a lot of people that I do meet that smoke weed, it's an ambitious killer. Ambition. It kills a lot of ambition when it comes to men, especially men that smoke a lot of weed. They don't get a lot of shit done. They're smoking a lot of pot. So another problem that I'll have with that is it's I think it's a bigger ambition killer than, for example, alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
That's my take. So I would say I can't make a law argument, but if I had to make some type of psychological argument, I think marijuana is an ambition killer, and that can really affect people from doing their duties and making their lives better. That would be another argument that I would put. But as far as when it comes to law, I mean, the only thing I can think of is just the driving under the influence.
Sure. No,
other than that, I'm, if you can prove me wrong, then yeah, I'd support it all the way.
Well, and here's the thing, like, the reason why I say, like, no to, like, criminalizing or not allowing marijuana to be legal is, like, once again, I talked about, like, we want to fight the drug cartels. That's the best way to fight the drug cartels. Also, like, we brought up alcohol. Well, we tried that in the 1920s with prohibition. That didn't go well either. All that did was that empowered more criminals to basically break the law, because there was things called speakeasies where people, if you had a certain code, you would just, like, and you'll give a password to go inside, and you're in, like, Flynn. Like, usually the people that are higher up the food chain, the people that will pass those laws are going to benefit from it, and that's the thing. Like, they will benefit from it because they are higher up the food chain. They basically have the influence. They have the clout. They can do it. They can go to the speakeasies and stuff like that, and they'll tell their friends stuff like that. But the thing is, like, Richard Nixon was the one that started the war on drugs, and it has done nothing, essentially. It hasn't done shit. And
let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Oh, Alex,
okay.
You broke up a little bit. Can you finish your thought? You broke up a little bit.
No, that was it.
Okay, so I have a question here. So it seems like, okay, the war on drugs, if you take out marijuana, that's going to help, right? Here's my question. What if you just make all the drugs legal? Then will that kill out the drug cartels completely? Why not just make it all legal at that point?
Well, it would take a lot of power from them. But at the same time, like, Ron Paul, I loved Ron Paul back in the day because,
really?
Oh yeah, I actually liked Ron Paul. Like, I felt like
he's a Republican.
Yeah, he is a Republican, but he had a lot of pragmatic views. Like, this is when I was independent, though, because I haven't always been progressive. But, like,
do you like him now or no?
I haven't heard much of him lately. I haven't heard much from him, but he said, just because you make something legal doesn't mean everyone's going to do it. Now, there are some people that are going to do it. And you know what? That's why you got to have systems in place to basically help people get off of drugs, essentially. That's why he also believed in, like, rehabilitation centers that are actually doing their job to rehabilitate people. And, like, there's actual uses, because, like, I talked about the fentanyl crisis. Fentanyl actually has a medical use to it right now. But the problem is, though, like, it gets laced and gets snuck into people's drugs, and that's how some people OD off it.
I've known people that have.
Yep. And it's like, that's why it's important. And, like, education really kind of comes into it, because, when I was growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, there was the DARE program to keep kids off of drugs.
Yeah.
You don't see any more DARE posters out there anywhere. I mean,
it fucking failed.
Exactly.
It fucking failed. Yeah.
It did.
Yeah. No, for sure. But yeah, I guess to me, if you're going to do the war on drugs, like, I would just say, because, like, libertarians kind of have that view. It's like, well, let them do drugs because it's going to lead to other crime, right? That's another argument that somebody made that same argument with this bill. That it's only going to put more people in jail. And trust me, bro, I think if you have some marijuana or whatever, I don't think you should be put in jail for years or whatever. That's just retarded. So there is a problem there. However, what I'm going to ask you is, if that's the solution, like what you said with Ron Paul, why not just make it all legal then? Like, that will kill out the drug cartel completely then, right?
And then we can big pharma.
There you go. That was where I was leading to, bro.
No.
That's where
I'm not going to lie. I mean, big pharma has, I don't know if you saw my show a few weeks ago. I talked about how, big pharma is out to basically capitalize and basically get all independent pharmacies. Like, if there's not reform when it comes down to pharmaceuticals, 34% of independent pharmaceuticals pharmacies are going to go out of business because they can't afford the drugs and they're overcharging. And guess what? CVS and all the other big PBMs out there, the PBMs are the ones that determine the price of your prescription drugs, right? With all the big retailers and companies and what out there. They will go out to all these small towns out in the rural parts, like where I live. I live out in the fucking sticks, right? They will take advantage of that, and they'll charge whatever the price is because they know they can get away with it. And there's a lot of lawmakers out there, Democrat and Republican, that get funding from big pharma, and that's a problem.
It's most of them.
Yeah,
it's most of them.
Yeah, it is, and that's a problem. I have no problem saying that. I have no issue with saying, calling it for what it is. But that's why for years they said no to marijuana. But after Colorado and Washington legalized it, they saw how big of a cash crop it was. I mean, it's no mistake that they saw a surplus in their economy after they legalized marijuana. I mean, it's like, and like the funniest thing I ever saw, and like, I didn't want to get too far off track, but like, after they legalized marijuana in Colorado, there was a Girl Scout that was outside of a distribution center, like a distributory, that was selling Girl Scout cookies. I was like, this young girl is a genius. Like, she's selling Girl Scout cookies.
Dude, that is awesome, actually. Yeah. That's a really good idea. They're coming out there high. They're like, fuck yeah, Girl Scout cookies?
Yeah, Thin Mints? Oh, yeah. Fucking Samoas? Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like, but that's
entrepreneur.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, it's just, I don't really see the point in them, like, if they know that the science backs it up. If it helps people, because like there have been people out there, I've seen the effects that THC has to people that are suffering from seizures. It calms the seizures; they don't have them anymore. It's common sense, but because like there are legislators out there that are being bought by big pharma, it's like no. I have to say no to this bill because
gateway drug.
Gateway drug. That's the only argument. Yeah, that's the only argument they really have. But it's just, and I do understand the harm. But that's where like personal responsibility comes into play. That's why like it, with beer, please drink responsibly, right? Yeah. Same thing with marijuana. And you're like, if you smoke like 3 blunts and you decide to go out on the road and you cause a collision, I don't say accidents because that means that nobody was at fault. When it comes down to it, I look at it as human negligence. If you cause a collision and people die, dude, you got to pay the piper. I don't give a shit what anybody says. You've got nobody to blame but yourself because you made that decision to get behind the wheel. Because the first thing that happens when you drink or you smoke weed, the first thing that you lose is your judgment.
Yeah, 100%. And just like I mentioned before, the vast majority of all these crimes are done under some kind of substance. Some kind of substance. Because at the end of the day, dude, this is why there's a lot of violence when people get super drunk. Is because when you're drunk, you feel like nobody can touch you. It's the same thing. Yeah. You get I could do this, right? You get brave. You feel like you can beat up a UFC fighter, and then you get knocked out, and you're like, "Holy shit, that didn't end well at all."
I love watching people get knocked out by bouncers. That's one of my favorite things. I love that.
That was fun. That is fun. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. That is fun to watch. But yeah, you do see that. So there is a form of immortality or feeling like you're immortal when it comes to these substance. So I get it. But at the same time, when it comes to, helping, like what you had stated, if it comes to medical reasons, I'm totally for that. I know people that smoke weed because they have knee issues, like literally like their knee bothers them. And then they smoke weed and they're good. And they don't even have to smoke a lot, bro. To be honest, they don't really have to smoke a lot to where they're impaled and shit. They just have to smoke enough and then their shit goes away. And obviously they build a tolerance. So thus, you make stronger and stronger weed. What is it? Dro? There's dro and there's other forms of weed that are actually uppers. And I know this because, I was around people that smoked all these different weeds. They got it from California, bro. And the weed would actually make you more like active. Like there's weed that actually gives you uppers and then there's downer weeds.
Sure.
Believe it or not. Yeah, that's one from what I've heard. So there are different effects for different types of marijuana. But I will tell you this, could it lead to other issues? Yes. Another question. I don't know if you know this statistic, but I know what's that place that it's weed is totally legal. Amsterdam. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Amsterdam. Yeah.
Is there any like weed related crimes that happen over there in Amsterdam? Because I know it's full on. Not that I'm aware of.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So here's a good thing. I should probably do my research when it comes to Amsterdam to see their crime statistics when it's weed related. And I'd probably make a better judgment to where I say, you know what? Fuck it. Just make marijuana all the way across the board. I'm not going to use it. I don't use it now. I don't buy it illegally. Yeah. I live in a fucking town that I know there's drug dealers around here that will sell it to me, but I don't care for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so why not? You're going to get all the small criminals off the streets anyways, and they have to get real jobs at that point.
Yeah.
So it could help. It could help, bro. Like,
Yeah.
to be honest, man, I know a lot of fucking low lives that smoke. I'm sorry, they sell marijuana. They make their money off of that. You take that away from them. Now, what are you going to do? They're going to sell harder drugs and then get more harsher punishments, or they're going to get a fucking job, which I would say get a fucking job, right?
Yeah. Hey, open a dispensary, man. Open a dispensary.
Yeah. Might as well, if you have the passion for it, go ahead and do that if it's legal.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm down. Yep.
I feel like we've really kind of hit the nail on the head with this topic. Why don't you go ahead and give us your last topic for the evening?
Yeah. So here's the thing. This is going to be a fun one. Man. So if people are unaware of this, there is a phenomenon that's been going out for the past, I want to say like 10 years, bro. Believe it or not. This is something called the furries. I don't know if your audience is aware of this, but it is something that kind of ties into the LGBT community of identity, etc. There's been multiple cases of young students that identify as a cat, or they'll identify as a dog in school. And a lot of these progressive schools now are actually accepting this type of behavior. In fact, there was a Utah school district addressing rumors of Furries biting, licking, and this is what the reports say. So this led to a huge protest at the Utah Middle School prompt district officials to address the rumors of alleged biting and licking being done by the furries. And this is according to multiple reports. This ended up shooting out to a bunch of protests that happened. And a lot of these students ended up walking out because it got so bad that these furries were licking them, biting them, and the principal wasn't doing jack shit about it because we have to accept them for who they are. This goes back to accepting my pronouns, accepting that I'm a woman when I'm a man, and basically fueling the what I would call the delusion of today's Gen Z generation, as well as the millennials as well. But this is a phenomenon that's been happening for years. It's not the first time this is the first time that students finally protested this garbage here. But yeah, before I go on with that, Alex, what's your take on what's going on with the furries?
I think furries, it's just like, I'm like, really? I mean, if you do it like in the comfort of your own home, that's one thing.
That's
but
weird.
Like, yeah,
that's weirdo, bro.
It is, but there's a lot of weird shit that I've seen. It's weird, but I've seen a lot of crazy shit in my day. But I'll put it like this, okay? When your behavior starts to affect other people, like stuff like that. Okay, so here's the thing. I am very pro LGBTQ plus. I understand like the whole pronouns bit, right? Now I know that there's some people out there that like, that they feel like they were born in the wrong body, right? I accept that, and I know that there are some things that like they just feel like they feel wrong. Okay, they feel like there's something wrong with them, and like I know there are people out there that are doing this just for attention, and I think that with furries, it's definitely about attention, honestly. And I don't know if there's like a deeper underlying issue, but here's the reason why I'm just like, I have to separate like the trans issue from the furry issue. And I know people like to combine the two, but I feel that they're very, very different, honestly, because I know there's content creators that go like they believe that they are a deer. And there's a joke gone out about there that, oh, you're a deer? So does that mean when it's deer season, I can come hunting you or something like that? Which I thought was hilarious. But the thing is, though, is like, I feel like some people just do it like for the attention, honestly. But like the trans issue is a totally separate issue, in my opinion. When I focus on the furries, unless you work at Disney World, unless you work at someplace, there's nowhere that you can work. Like you can't work at Target, you can't work as a construction worker and be dressed up as a dog. It's not going to happen. If you have like a dog costume on and you're trying to walk construction, you're going to have a hell of a time getting your job done, and your boss is going to fire you. Okay, so when you're at school, like, this is why, like, when people make the argument that they should go back to school uniforms, this is why they focus upon this, I mean, like, that's why. I have no problem, like, if a child has, like, I would like to be called with they, them pronouns, okay, fine, that's fine. But, like, with furries, it's harder for me to accept, let's put it this way. Because if you start, like, if you advocate for like a litter box in the back of the classroom or something like that, and you got to pee in during class, if it was a grown adult doing that, do you think people would be like, oh, that's okay? No, that wouldn't be okay. That dude goes on the sex offender registry. So and I firmly do believe this. I mean, this may not be progressive enough, but this is why I say
Right.
pragmatic progressive, because like if it's stupid, I'm gonna say it's stupid. Um,
Right.
if a child, if it's like dress up Halloween, school day, fine, whatever, just let kids be kids kind of deal. But like if you're doing it every single day and this says no, don't call me Marcus, call me Rover. Okay, why am I calling you Rover? And it's just like because I'm a dog. Okay, let's bring your parents in. Let's talk about this. Why
Right.
does your son think he's a Why does he think he's a dog? Oh well, it's just. I wonder if there's like an underlying issue if the child is like not getting enough attention at home, maybe, or if like I don't know. It's kind of hard to say, but there are some times where we have to exercise a little bit of common sense. Let's just put it this way, because the whole furry scenario, and that's why I say like if you dress up as a furry at home, hey, I go home and I dress up like a bat. Dress up like a bat, go nuts. If you and your friends want to play make believe and you want to dress up like a bat, dress up like a bat. But like when you go to school, you go there to like learn, right? Algebra, mathematics, things like that. Go to gym, stuff like that.
Right.
But if you go there and you say, no, I'm gonna act like a dog all day, and because this is not gonna help me, well, when you let's say for example, you pretend to be a furry all the way up until you graduate from high school. When you go to your first job, because you're gonna need a job, what are you gonna say on your application? Like
That you're a dog.
That you're a dog.
You're a dog.
Unless you're actually going to be a canine trainer, I don't see you getting many jobs out there. I'm just being a realist about this. This is why it's important for people to understand. It's like, I get it. I get it. Some people just they like being furries. Okay, fine. Go be a furry. But there's a time and a place for it. Okay, there is a time and a place. And school, where you're there to learn. In college, if you act like a furry, you can fuck off. That's your money down the drain, essentially. And people are gonna look at this guy, look at this person over here. Yeah. But like with kids, it's just like they're like, I can't focus because Jimmy over here.
Kids are the meanest ones too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jimmy over here is, he keeps trying to lick me and stuff like that, and it's really hard for me to focus. I mean, it's really not hard to understand these things. And I don't give a shit if people say, "Well, you're not a true leftist." I don't give a shit. Okay, if I ever had children and they said, "Well, this kid kept licking me at school," I'm like, "What the fuck? What do you mean they started licking you at school?" I mean, it's I mean that's something people have got to be willing to draw the line. We've got to be mature about this, though. We've got to I'm not saying there needs to be an overreaction. I'm just saying people have got to address this. Okay, why do you feel like you're a dog? Okay, take the kid to therapy or something like that. Or just find out, okay, is there something else going on here? Are the parents encouraging this behavior? I mean, there's a lot in line. But anyway, I keep rambling. I'm sorry.
No. You gave me a good fucking substance of your take on this. Now, you did mention that you want to separate the trans issue and the furry issue.
Yeah.
So this is where we got to put some pushback here.
Okay,
Alex.
go for it.
Okay, so here's the thing, man. Obviously, when the trans community came around, we had men saying that they're women and that you should respect our pronouns. Your argument was because people they just feel like a woman, right? That was kind of your argument. And we should just say that, hey, they're a woman and that's that, right? Or they're a man, whatever the case is, right? That's kind of your take because of how they feel. Is that kind of where you stand on that?
It's not so much how they feel, but it's just it's their reality kind of deal. Because
the reality.
It's their reality. I'd say it's no different than somebody that feels like they're redneck or they're they're a hick or something like that. It's just it's their way of life. And the reason why I say the trans issue is different is because and obviously there are people out there that are doing it just for the attention. They're doing it just to be provocative or something like that. I accept that there are those outliers, but I know plenty of people in the trans community. They've felt this way for a very long time, but they were just terrified of coming outwards because they were afraid of the mockery that they were going to inherit. But now that I've known people that actually have had the full-on surgery and whatnot, and they feel so much better about themselves. Now, when it comes down to the topic of should children, get surgeries like that? Personally, no. That's personally, no. But it's just they should go to therapy of some sort to talk about their issues, to talk about their feelings with people. There are plenty of trans influencers out there that think there's a process in order for you to go into the women's bathroom. There's a process. You can't just like it, like the whole Planet Fitness thing. I know we're kind of like deviating away from it, but like the whole Planet Fitness thing, you see a dude in there like shaving his face, like, yeah, that's gonna scare the shit out of some people. I get that, okay? I understand that there is gonna be some pushback from this. That's a legitimate concern because, and you know, there are a lot of trans people out there. They just want to live their lives. They're not out there to bother anybody. This is just who they are. You know, and there are some trans people out there. You're not gonna tell. I mean, trans people have been using the bathrooms of the gender they identify with for years. It's just because it became a big issue back in 2015, 15, I want to say.
14 or 15.
I think it was 14. That's when it really became kind of an issue because we started focusing upon this. But the thing is, like, they have been using the bathrooms for this period of time. It's just, I've always gone by the mantra, mankind always fears what it does not understand. And it's like, you know, with the trans issue, it's just because it's still kind of new to us. The furries thing, I'm never going to understand that. That's just me. I can't speak for other people. This is my personal point of view. I just don't know if that's like in the same ballpark. Let's put it that way.
So I would say this, every argument you made right now for the trans people, you can make the same exact argument with the furries, bro. That's the thing. That's the problem that I have here, because when you say, okay, it's their reality, with the furry people, it's also their reality. You might say, well, it's because they're doing it for attention. When you say, oh, the kids are doing this, and you think it's just the kids, bro, there's full-on grown adults that do this.
Oh, yeah.
This isn't just children, bro. This is full-on grown adults that also believe that they're different, just like trans people, that they're different and they should be accepted, and that we should respect their identity because that's who they are. There's even people out there that identify as a younger age. Like literally, there's a story of a man that's like 40-something years old. He identified as a 6-year-old little girl. So I'm just saying this: if you're going to make the argument and you're going to say, well, that man right there believes he's a woman, and we should respect that and allow him to use the bathroom, or allow him to have all the perks and being treated like a woman. Why wouldn't you do that for the furries if they feel the same exact way? Like, what's your real argument, Alex, other than you just don't understand it? And like you said right here, man or humankind fears what they don't understand. I would make an argument that the trans people don't even understand what the fuck they are. I would make an argument that the furries don't even understand what the hell they are. And the only thing we can base it off of is reality. That no, you are clearly a man. You're not a woman. And there's guys out there that put wigs on and identify as a woman. And then it trickles down to like, it's what is it? Gender fluid. So some days you're a woman, some days you're a man. It gets so muddy, bro. So to the point that now we have people identifying as ages. Now we have people identifying as dogs, and they're dressing up like this. There's people doing surgeries on their face to make them look like dragons or some kind of animal. And I'll tell you this, I know you're not a religious guy, bro. I know you're not. But I will tell you this. One thing, there's when it comes to demons in the Bible, specifically Baphomet, who is worshipped by the Church of Satan, or not worshipped, but he's one of the symbols of the Church of Satan. Baphomet has breast, he has a man part, and he has a head of a goat, etc. He's basically half man, half woman, half beast. And I'm just saying this. Look, I know you're not religious, but you do see within religious texts of people doing the same stuff. I think there's a big reason why Christians look at this and can correlate it with a fucking 2,000+ year old book, you know? So I'm just saying, like, there's signs there. That's not going to be my full argument, but I'm just laying that in there. But I would also say this. If you're going to accept the trans community and say, okay, that man is a woman and that woman is a man, then if you're going to accept that and use those arguments, why don't you accept the man that believes he's a 6-year-old, or the people that believe they're dogs and cats? Like, what, like, you haven't really given out any specific reason why the trans people are special compared to them.
I wouldn't say that they're so much special. I just feel like with dog, for example, humans cannot turn into animals. That's why. And, you know, like, and
can't turn into a woman, bro.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so here's the olive branch that I'm going to extend right here. Okay, there is even trans people out there that accept this. Okay, there are trans people out there that acknowledge that they are trans women, that they don't have periods and things like that. I accept that. It's just and here's the thing. Here's the reason why I say it's different. It's because it's sort of like the hypothetical that I've heard many times. If you were to wake up tomorrow, right? If I was waking up tomorrow, 41 years old, and I'm in a woman's body, I'm gonna be like, what the fuck is going on here? This is not right. I feel like I am born in the wrong body, essentially, right? And then I would want my body transferred into a male's body because that's where I feel most at home. And that's like the best way I can essentially explain it. Now, people say, well, that doesn't make any sense. Well, I get that. It doesn't make any sense to you, but it makes sense to the person that's undergoing that. That's where gender dysphoria comes in. And the thing is, if you don't allow gender therapy or gender affirming care, right, you're actually doing more harm to that person. And people think, well, they shouldn't feel this way. Well, it's easy for us to say this. It would be like me trying to attack everything that you believe to be true until what's going on in your head is fucking wrong. Like if I was an atheist, right, and I was to attack your entire religious worldview and say everything you've been told is a lie. You're not, God does not judge. And if you,
no, it's fine. I can debate it though. That's the difference. I can debate my worldviews.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you can, and I'm sure they can debate their worldviews. But the thing is, it's easy for me to do so because I'm a straight, heterosexual, cisgendered man kind of deal. Okay, I'm just taking it from what I understand of like how the trans community feels, and this is what they truly believe. Now, the reason why I separate the trans community from the furry community is because I can see one as a reality that if you see a trans woman, right, some people can't tell. Like for example, a guy could be straight, but then he sees a woman. And then finds out she's trans, essentially.
Let me
is he attracted to the woman or the fact that she's a man kind of deal? Okay, go ahead.
Let me ask you a question then. So you're saying, well, now that we have the technology to make at least some men passable, right? Is what you're saying. Therefore, we should abide by the feelings because they just look it, right? Just based off their looks. So I would say this. So if there was technology that we can turn yourself into a dog, like a straight up dog, you look just like a dog, right? But you talk and everything like that, but you're a dog. Would you accept that person who's clearly a human, but he's just shaped like a dog? He looks like a mutated dog. Would you treat him like a dog? Would you say this is right? Yeah, he feels correct.
Fetch, Fido, fetch.
There you go. Okay,
yeah,
there you
fetch,
go.
Fido. I mean, yeah.
So your basic argument is if it looks like that thing, then therefore it is that thing, right? That's your argument?
Essentially, yes. Yeah, essentially, yes. Because, like, I look at it like this, right?
Alex, let me ask you this. So then, would you have sex with a trans woman then? If that trans woman it looks like, let's say you're single, of course. Say you're single. Would you have sex with a trans woman? She looks like a woman. Would you make out with that person? She liked you.
Do I know before? Do I know before or afterwards?
Yeah, you know that person used to be a guy.
I don't know because like I probably not because that's like not
why
really
not?
My preference.
Why not?
That's just
why not though?
Well, that's my personal preference. If I find out afterwards, like if I meet a woman and then like if I meet yes.
So you're saying no, you wouldn't make out with that woman. You wouldn't be sexually attracted to that woman. Because that woman's not actually a woman, it's a man.
Yeah, well, that's a preference.
That's what you're saying.
Well, that would be a preference.
No, it's not a preference.
It is preference.
You said
that's
you
preference.
You said you would treat that person. You said
you
would treat that person like a woman. You would call him a woman, do everything in the woman. You would say that is a woman. But then, however, you still wouldn't be making out with that woman because deep down inside that's not a woman, right?
Or it's just like a preference kind of deal, right? It really is.
Is it a preference? Is it a preference, or am I getting the vibe that you're deep down inside? Yeah, that's disgusting.
No,
that it's gay.
No.
Is it gay?
No, it's not gay. No,
it's not gay.
No, okay. I don't look at it as gay. And again, because I only got like the 2-hour bit right there, but like I want to put it like this, okay? The reason why it's different because like there are even trans people that accept this, that know that this is reality. Like it's a preference thing. Like for example, if a man decides he does not want to date a trans woman, he shouldn't be declared trans. It's just a preference, and it should be treated as such. It should be treated as such.
Okay, so it should be treated as such.
Yes.
Is that because, okay, let's say you don't know that that's a man, right? And then you made out with the person and yet, you know, whatever it is, or you find out whatever, I don't know. I don't know, whatever the case is, bro. Then would you look back and be like, oh, that was gay, or that was, you know, apparently it's my preference. But if you didn't know your preference, it quacks like a duck. How is that preference if in one scenario, or let me ask you, let's say you didn't know you didn't know it was a guy, and then you did that, right? And then you later find out it was a dude, and you're like, holy shit, that's not my preference. So again, it quacks like a duck, it looks like a duck, so therefore it's a duck. That was what your argument was. But how is that a preference if whether you didn't know or did know? What does it matter?
Well, at that point, that would be a conversation between me, myself and that person. I'd be like, okay, so why didn't you tell me? It's like, I would, first off, I would feel like, you know, it would be no different than something like, okay, I feel a little, you know, taken advantage of, essentially. Like, and
why? You conceded to the sex. Why are you taking advantage of you?
Because it's kind of like a misinterpretation, where it's like you're being led to believe one thing, but then you find something else later on. It's sort of like if you're in a long-term relationship with a wait, hold on, let me answer your question. Let's say you're in a long-term relationship with a woman, right? And then you find out she's married. You'd feel taken advantage of, right? Even though you conceded to the sex, right?
Well, I could see that, but again, at the end of the day, it didn't make my dick soft. Like, whether I knew she was married or not, my dick probably still would have gotten hard, bro. So the point is, whether you know or not, you're still willing to do that. At that point, it's not preference. A preference would be like, well, you know what? I don't get turned on by black girls, or I don't get turned on by Asians, or I don't like fat girls. I like skinny girls, or I like fat girls, whatever it is. Those are preferences.
Sure.
Those are preferences that you can physically see because you're attracted. Preferences attract you. So again, if you can't see it, if it quacks like a duck, etc., what's the problem if you know for a fact it's a man or not? What does it matter? Well, you can't tell the difference.
At that point, you can't take the nut back, can you?
You can't take the nut back.
You can't. But like,
exactly. But that's why.
Yeah. I mean, like, at the same time, like, you know, if I'm like, okay, hypothetically, if I was single or something like that, and something like that was to happen, I mean, again, my initial feeling, I would probably be a little pissed. I'm not gonna lie, because like I feel like I was lied to. Essentially, it's no different than any other scenario where you might have been lied to about somebody. But, you know, after a while, like, if you sat down and talked to that person, I mean, like, the initial reaction would be, oh, I'm going to beat the fuck out of that person. But, you know, like, that is not going to really kind of go about it. Like, that's not the appropriate reaction. But that's something you can talk to about that person, essentially. But, like, at that point, in a hypothetical scenario, like, if I had sex with a trans woman, and, you know, like I said, I can't take that nut back. I mean, for all you know, like, if you got a blowjob from, like, a trans woman, and it was, like, the best blowjob you've ever gotten, and then, like, afterwards, like, oh shit, like you were like, but that was like the best blowjob I've ever gotten, kind of deal. Like, how do you react to a situation like
bro,
that?
I can get another blowjob. Does not fucking, it's irrelevant to whether it's good or not. But again, so I'm saying this: if it quacks like a duck, it's just visually like that, and you say, okay, I'm gonna accept that, right? That's the argument here. And again, this is what people base their whole psychology on.
Sure.
Is if it quacks like a duck, that's what it is, right? Again, why not apply that to the furries community, right? Like, they dress up like a dog, they act like a dog. Maybe you know it's not a dog, just like you know that's not a woman. Like, why would you accept that delusion? And not only that, like I said, this is a vast amount of people. My thing is, if you're willing to accept the trans community, then you should have acceptance to the furry community, to the age people community. And this is the thing, it trickles down to that. If you're willing to accept one delusion, then why not accept the other delusions? Because you're basing it off of that same worldview, that if it quacks like a duck, and oh, it's their feelings. You also mentioned feelings. So there's a lot of other attributes outside of that. Why not accept the furries, bro? Like, at that point, you would have to make an argument saying that, yeah, I would accept them if they said that they were a dog or a dragon or a toaster. People that are schizophrenic. Why do we not accept schizophrenic people in their reality? When in their reality, with what they believe, they're whatever God talked to me. And, oh, well, God talked to you. Okay, schizophrenic guy, I believe you. Why do we treat the gender dysphoria people that way, but not the schizophrenics?
The schizophrenia and gender dysphoria are two completely different medical conditions, essentially. But
it's still a medical condition that has to do with the mind.
But it can. But gender affirming care can actually help people. Schizophrenia, they're like heavily medicated. But like here I'm going to answer the question just like this. Okay, you're asking me how can I accept one and not the other? Here's my response to that. Right. Okay. First things first. Do you support the police department? Right. Do you support the police essentially?
Like doing their job? Yeah, of course.
Do you support police doing police brutality?
No.
Why not? If you support the police,
because that goes against the law.
Goes against the law, right? Police, but if you support the police, you have to support police brutality. That's the same thing. You can choose. No. But you understand my point, though. The reason, I can support the trans community, but I can't. It doesn't mean I need to support the furry community, right?
Well, again, the police. Then you'd have to compare it to the police and like firemen, or two different things, right?
They are
still part of that, but nevertheless, the furry community. Every argument that you made about the trans community, you can apply that to the furry community.
I don't have to actually.
Well, technically you can.
I don't have to.
I'm pretty sure.
Jake,
I'm pretty sure that.
I'm sorry, Jake. I have to push back on this. Okay, this is why I don't like the group thing. Just because I accept one thing, it doesn't mean I have to accept the other thing. That's the important. This is the distinction right there. And people say, "Well, you have to." No, I don't. There is a distinct difference between the two. And if people can break down like a psychological reason as to why, like I would have to hear some really strong. That's what's going to change my mind. It has to be really strong logic. And as of right now, there isn't any with the furry community. The trans community, there is solid logic. You can't give me anything as of right now with the furry community. That's why like it's important for people to understand this. Just because you accept one thing, it doesn't mean you just need to accept everything. Remember how I said earlier that people on the left say, if you don't accept everything we say, you're not a true leftist. I don't like that mentality. That's why I apply this logic. I accept the trans community. The furry community to me is something completely different. That's why like xenogenders is like a different thing as well. I don't know enough about xenogenders to really kind of get into it. So, but anyway.
But I was going to ask about that because obviously if you accept one, the trans community is going to say, well, there's also such thing as gender fluid. There's also such thing as, the gender fluid people or
I don't know if I'm about that.
Sexuals. It's a whole bunch of nonsense. Bro. And they and this comes from gender dysphoria. This is all just like schizophrenia. They believe one thing that's not true. They're not based in reality. This is the same arguments with the LGBT community, bro. Is that they base a lot of their argument. And if you want to make the argument about gender affirming care, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the gender affirming care, I don't know if you know this, but when it comes to the trans community, they have an extremely high suicide rate. Okay. So they're around 40%. Now, just to give you some clarification, that's a higher percentage of suicide rate than the gays were in the 80s. And even all the way back to the slave era, like during the Jim Crow era, Black people were not committing suicide nowhere near the same rate as 40%. So let me ask you this. Why is it that trans people tend to off themselves more often than any other community?
Okay, so I've actually looked into this.
And also this even happens after post-ops. The suicide, I'm sorry, the deletion rate does not go any lower than that, bro.
So I'll answer that question. And here's the interesting part about that, okay? Sometimes they'll go to a doctor that says, yes, because that we will perform like the post-op surgery. But the problem is, though, some of that post-op surgery, it takes away all the sensation down below. And they can't reverse that. That tends to be a problem. That could be really that could be kind of a mind fuck to somebody. That's the reason why, like some people don't get the downstairs surgery. Because the doctor is not going to perform the right kind, essentially. Like, that's why, like, certain content creators, like Blair White, hasn't had the surgery because, like, it's like a psychological connection you have to, the nether regions, essentially. Some people feel like if they lose that, it's going to, like, kind of fuck them up mentally, which I get, okay? Another reason as to why is because even after they have the surgery, they still feel like they are not truly accepted into it. It's because, like, afterwards, there's no follow-up surgery. It's kind of like, how's a good way to put this? It's sort of like somebody that gets a gastric bypass. but there's no follow-up. Or there's a person that gets breast surgery done, but there's no follow-up. And then their breasts get a little fucked up kind of deal. I see it all the time on the TV show Botched. There's a lot of surgeries where there's no follow-up, and their mental health can actually go into a deep decline. Now, the reason why there is such a widespread of suicide, it's because it's really complicated. It's a really complex issue. It's not because, well, they still commit suicide. Well, why? Have we looked into the why issue? And that's one of the reasons why. Because, once again, let's say, for example, right? Let's say if you were to get some kind of a surgery that will, make your dick longer, right? But then your dick is longer, but you can't feel shit down there afterwards. Would it kind of fuck you up a little bit? Because
if I couldn't feel anything?
If you couldn't feel anything, even your dick could be erect.
If I was aware of the fact that would happen, I would be like, no. Of course
Exactly.
not.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons why some of them actually commit suicide, because they lose all sensation down there because the doctor they went to wasn't qualified about this. This is why it's so important that we focus on the science of this issue, because there are people out there that, so that's why it is an important issue essentially. So, but that's for the best answer I can give you. That's what I know at this point, at least. So.
Yeah. But I'll tell you this: if we applied that to the furry community and gave them surgery to look like dogs, I guess, if we gave surgery to 50-year-old men to look like 6-year-old little girls, and now they're having relationships with 6-year-old little boys, if it quacks like a duck and it looks like a duck, would you accept that?
That one, no. That one I can't.
Why not, though?
That to me, that just seems a bit off the reservation to me.
But can you see that there's a trickling effect that because this community is so large and they accept gender fluid, they accept the furries, they accept all this, is a lot of liberal progressive ideology that's been affected on a big pretty good portion of people.
Well, from what I heard, the LGBTQ plus community, they don't accept the guy that pretends he's 6 years old. They think that guy is just doing it for attention.
Sure. Well, at the end of the day, they are making arguments now with that. This isn't anything new. Again, this is a trickling effect. How about in the next 20 years when Gen Z is way more accepting than the millennials were? As time keeps going on and going on and going on, you're going to eventually get to the point where people will accept ageism. They'll call you ageist or whatever racist term they want to put you on there.
They can call me ageist then.
Well, exactly. And that's the same thing with me. It's like, dude, I don't accept this. This is a trickling effect that's already affected our kids too. Mm-hmm. So once we accept them, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. This is how we have drag queen story hour now. They had field trips to gay bars at schools. I believe one in Florida, they took children to a gay bar for a drag queen show for accepting reasons. Not only that, if you think that the furries ain't going to get accepted, they already have, and I can send it to you as well if you want to watch the video just to prove it to you, bro. They already have propaganda that they're showing children of accepting other children that they're dogs and cats. And I can send you that right now on X if you want to play that. Just to show you the propaganda that's going to be pushed when accepting this type of delusion. We've already seen this with the trans, where we're telling men that they're women and women that they're men and all this other crazy shit. It's going to lead to other crazy shit. It's a trickling effect. And we've seen that already throughout history. And if you think I'm crazy, look, I just sent you the link. You want to play it here. This is literally a propaganda piece that they're showing kids to accept other kids that they're dogs and cats.
I'll have to check out later. So I don't know how to work from this angle. So
okay, fair enough.
I'll check it out with you, and I'll do a talk with you later about it. But with the whole the reason why I say that they are different, and it may seem like I'm inconsistent about this, but it's just because I can feel strongly about this issue, but the other one I just don't. Because here's the thing. There are people that say, oh, well, you have to accept, if you accept this, that means you have to accept this. Not necessarily. It's the guy that's 45 years old that thinks he's a 6-year-old child. No, I can't accept that. The same thing, I can't accept people that, if you're 45 years old, and you can, that means you should automatically be able to allow marriage to, a teenager. No, I don't accept that. And the fact is it's not the LGBTQ that's pushing this. There's actually people in the religious community that push stuff like this. I don't like that. I don't like that. Period. Yeah. They're 100% wrong. But the thing is, just because, you know, you acknowledge something is wrong, it doesn't mean like I acknowledge it's wrong, you acknowledge it's wrong. It means we're on the same sheet of music. It doesn't mean we need to accept a certain belief structure. And the reason why I said I can't go along with the furry bit is because, you know, I think it's sort of like how do I put it? I wouldn't say it's maybe it could be an outlier kind of deal, but I feel it's like that's something that is a little bit more complex. Like the trans thing, it's still very complex, and there's a lot of things that people don't really understand about that. And are there some people that are trying to like push their children to act this way? Yeah, I could accept that.
Maybe, but there's also full-grown adults doing it. It's an entire movement.
Yeah.
But you did state that it's complex on the furries, and then when you mention the trans, you also say, well, it's also complex. So what? Like again, you're making the arguments on both sides, but then you're saying they're different. I still haven't.
Well,
really
the reason why the trans one is very complex is because like, how do I put it like this? I'm trying to think of like. Because I didn't think we were going to talk about the trans issue, essentially.
Yeah. Well, it does imply with the furries thing that's where.
Well,
it's good for debate.
Yeah, it's good for debate. But I'll put it to you like this: do you think anybody like right now can pass a dog from human?
Right now, at this point, no.
Yeah. But you can see people that like for example, Chaz Bono, Sonny and Cher.
Sonny and Cher.
Yeah. You know who Sonny and Cher is? Okay.
No.
Damn it.
I guess I'm too young for that. Sorry.
No.
I know Blair White. You mentioned Blair White.
Yeah,
earlier.
I did mention Blair White, but like there are people in the community that at one point were one gender and then they transition into something else. Now, most people would say, "Oh yeah, I could definitely tell that, you know, Blair's a man." No, you can't. People that think that Blair White can pass as a man is full of it. There have been, you know, advancements essentially. And I feel like Blair I don't agree with all of her points of view, but the fact of the matter is like, when I see Blair White, I see a woman. If I see a person that's dressed up like a cat or a dog, I'm like, that's cosplay to me. That's just my personal point of view.
Okay, so but at the same time, you wouldn't fuck with Blair White, right? Even though you see a woman.
No, I personally, no, I wouldn't.
Okay, and why is that?
Well.
Because that's a guy. That's why.
No, I understand.
There's a biological nature in men that say, okay, there's biological reasons why men tend to be a little bit discouraged on because again, I understand the premise of looking like something, etc. But at the end of the day, us guys are biologically programmed to spread our seeds, right? And this is why, you know, we're usually attracted to younger women, women with hip to butt ratio, etc. And we're designed to do that. So I understand your premise there, but my argument is, if you're going to claim that is a woman, I just don't see why you wouldn't fuck with a trans woman then, if you see that person as a woman.
I mean, well, it's no different from like. So I'll put it like this. They say that men are biologically meant to like spread their seed. That's not always the case. Not all men are biologically programmed to do something like that. Some men are, some men aren't. Some men have different preferences.
Most men are biologically, yes, but most men don't succeed in that. If you look at statistics throughout history, it's like 40 or 50% of men have never even procreated.
And you know, that's a very real thing. But like, if a guy sees a woman, he goes up to her and he hits on her, and then she comes clean and says, "I'm a trans woman," and he says, "I don't care. I'm all about it." That's just a preference right there. If I was to go up to a woman, it's like, "Well, I'm a trans woman." I was like, "Okay, I'm sorry, but that's just like not my thing." That's just a personal preference, though.
Sure.
Like
sure.
that's the way I have to look at it essentially. And if I get labeled something, I've been labeled. Yeah, I get labeled. I get labeled all the fucking time. It's not that end of the world. And like you say, you gave me the hypothetical, like if I was single and I got like the world's greatest blowjob from like a trans woman, well, I can't take that.
You gave that scenario. I didn't give that scenario.
Well, okay, but like, but you know what I'm talking about, though, right? I mean, again, I would like, it's just like a personal feeling of like, you know, rejection. But then it's like, well, you can't take the nut back in. No, actually, I can't kind of deal. But it's just, and you know, it's just, it's a, like I said, it's a very, very different case by case scenario. There are guys out there that they are attracted to the person. They're attracted, like, it's sort of like a guy that sees a woman. She's all dolled up in makeup, but then like she wakes up the next day and she looks like a hot fucking mess. Kind of just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
It's just
She fooled me.
kind of deal. So,
Yeah.
but it's just that's just the way that's just my point of view on it. So.
I want to ask you another question. So, okay,
Sure.
obviously
this has to be the last one because like I'm almost out of time here.
Yeah, for sure. We got 4 minutes. So real quick, I want to ask you another interesting question here.
Yeah.
Now, I mentioned the gender fluid people, right? Gender fluid, which means you feel like a woman, you feel like a man. And again, if they feel it, that's what it is. Do you accept gender fluid? Does that exist?
That one I'm not 100% on. I haven't learned. Then again, I haven't read too much into it. I'm kind of more focused on one. Let's put it that way. So.
Okay. Yeah. So their argument is like, I feel like a man one day, or maybe in 10 minutes, I feel like a woman, or perhaps even during sex, like while you're banging a chick, then she says, "Oh, I feel like a man now." Does that make you gay?
I don't know.
Are you gay in the middle?
I can't comment on that one because I have no idea. So
okay, but the furries, okay, but this one, yeah, which one's crazier, the furries or the gender fluid people?
I still got to go with the furries. I'm sorry. I still got to go with the furries. I still got to go with the furries. I'm sorry. That's just the way I am. So if I'm being polite, so. But
okay, hey, fair enough.
But anyway,
that was my last question.
No, that's fine. But Jake, once again, like I gotta say, like it's so far these have been like two great conversations that we've had, and like the thing is if people ask me why aren't you getting upset when he asks you those questions, this is a good faith zone. We have to be mature. If I ask a question that's thought provoking to you or like one that you may not like, I feel it's important for us to have the conversation, okay, and just like. Like I'm not like upset about it, but it's like it's important for us to take a second. It's like, listen, we have to be adults about this because these are very adult questions. These are scenarios we go through on a day-to-day basis. It's important for us to keep a level head about this and be good faith. I try to make this a good faith zone, so I hope you understand. Like, and I hope
100%, 100%. The reason why I was asking hypotheticals is just to test logic. Like hypotheticals exist to test people's logic when it comes to things.
Sure,
that's all that is. And again, that's all. It's not in bad faith. It's not of any of that, bro.
Yeah.
It's strictly to test your logic when it comes to the furries and other communities that I would feel are delusional, and just to kind of get your thought provoking to get you to really like give really deep dive into that. But yeah, that's why I did it.
Yeah, of course. And and it's good to like have conversations like this. I mean, even if we don't agree, that's okay.
Yeah,
it's life.
Bro.
It's life. It happens. So
yeah.
But anyway, before we close out, why don't you go ahead and give everybody else a last shout out for yourself, where they can find you, what kind of content you talk about, and what kind of stuff you plan on doing in the future too.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much. First off, thank you for bringing me onto your platform, bro. I appreciate that 100%. Thank you so much. But yeah, I'm Jake Varr. I run a YouTube channel called Project VealPod, where I talk politics, culture war, what else? Reviews on other people's content, and of course debates. I do run debates as well. So it's all there. It's all fucking just everything on there that you want to do, and no topic is out of reach with me. And then you can of course find me on X at Jake Varr, or I believe my handle is JVar11. And you can find me on Instagram with the same shit, JVar11, Jake Varr on Instagram and X. I run the YouTube channel as well. And then, of course, on Rumble, same thing, Project VealPod. It matches the content on YouTube. So, yeah, that's where you can find me. And hopefully come check it out. And anybody watching, if you want to jump on to Project VealPod, have a debate, discussion, whatever it is, feel free to do that. I do my shows where I talk about things. And if I'm going to open up the panel, I'll usually open up a panel for anybody in the live chat, or anybody that wants to jump in. I'll shoot the link there in the chat for anybody to jump in that has a argument against me or just wants to talk. So that's how I'm building the channel.
Fantastic. And you got like 2.5 thousand subscribers, right? 2,500 subscribers.
Yeah.
Yep. That's fantastic. Yeah. I don't have that many, but that's okay. I do this because I love it. I do it
because
I have fun.
Same.
So
same, bro. Same. Yeah.
But anyway, hey man, I appreciate you. Thanks so much for once again for coming on. Cheers to you as well. And I hope absolutely. Hopefully I'll go back on your show sometime as well. But anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight, and hopefully everybody enjoys the rest of the weekend, and I will catch you the next week. Actually, what? Am I doing a show next week? I can't remember. I might be. But anyway, I'll catch y'all next time on the next episode of Current Events on Tap. Y'all have a great evening.
But yeah, thanks so much for having me, bro. I think this was good. I'm glad I brought it up the furries things because it does intertwine